Hello, hello. Welcome to Brazen. I'm so glad that you're here. How are you doing? Before we dive into today's episode, and it's a fucking juicy one, how have you been? How's 2025 been? I'm just going to tell you personally, this is a conversation we're having. It has been difficult for me, and it has been incredible. There have been a lot of difficulties. And to be totally transparent, a lot of it has had to do with just the climate of the earth and what is going on. And it's been difficult. I've had to really evaluate how often I am consuming media. And I don't really watch the news because personal belief, personal opinion, fuck that. I want to stay informed, of course, and I do stay informed. I believe that you have to. But my gosh, if I am ingesting and digesting too much media of any kind right now, I go down into a dark fucking spiral. Like, just being honest, do you do that too? Like, it's difficult. I find myself in these spaces where I'm like, I want to know what's going on and I want to be able to help. And all these things that are important to me. And then I find myself in the bathtub having a mentee bee. It's just really overwhelming right now. Um, and I know that one of my personal, and maybe for you too, one of my personal pieces of work that I'm focused on during this time is maintaining a level of balance, mind, body, and soul, and projecting out, declaring what reality I want, what life I want, while also making sure that I'm advocating for others. It's a balance of trying to figure it all out. So I just wanted to start this podcast by figuring out how you were feeling. I mean, maybe you're in the same boat. Maybe it's been an incredible year so far, and you have learned an incredible amount of lessons. Maybe what's going on in the world right now has you feeling some sort of way, and we're in the same boat where you're like, yeah, Heather, if I watch, maybe you do watch the news, or maybe you're getting your news from other places, or maybe it is on the internet somewhere, whether it's an article that you're reading or on social media, and maybe you're feeling the same way where you're like, yeah, I have got to take a break. I'm going to ask you to take a break with me here in the next few weeks. I've kind of created a spot in my schedule where I can take a really nice break from social media. I have talked to a lot of clients about it recently as well. So I'm going to challenge you and ask you to do the same to figure out the easiest. Well, no, let's back up. Not the easiest. You got to fucking challenge yourself. But the way that you're able to take a social media break or any type of media break, I'm going to challenge you to do the same if that's how you're feeling. And other than that, I think it's time to celebrate what you've done. When's the last time that you celebrated how far you've come? Or what you did last year, or what you've already done this year, or what your goals are, or any of it. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're in my community that is at all, you are, in fact, the type of woman, the type of human who craves more out of life. You want to do better, feel better, do more, thrive, experience more, all of these things. Staying stagnant probably feels like hell. So, since that's you, that means that you've done a lot. And you probably haven't taken ample amount of time to go stand in front of a mirror and start talking to yourself about all of the things that you've done. Mirror work is the work. Because when you do that, you start to get really emotional really quick, right? And that's why most people refuse it, whether at like a subconscious, unconscious level, or because they're like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. And I know exactly why, because I don't want to face myself. Whatever it is, whether you know why you're not doing mirror work, whether you don't know why you're not doing mirror work, I'm going to ask you to go in front of the fucking mirror and celebrate what it is that you've done. And when you start to cry and get really emotional, keep going. That's the magic sauce. That's literally what we are looking for. Okay. Okay. Are you ready for today's episode? I'm fucking stoked. So you probably noticed that in the last, I don't know, 6 months, I've been shifting some things a lot of it in the business, in all areas of the business. And the podcast is one of those areas as well. And bottom line is, I wanted to make it a little easier for you to walk away from these episodes, that is, with like a 1, 2, 3 step. I wanted you to walk away not only gaining so much and being inspired and having these light bulb moments and being like, holy shit, it was a good episode, which I love when you send me those messages because, ugh, that's why I do this, is so that you feel that way. And also, I love it. But I also wanted you to walk away from this with like, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing this week and next week. Because the episodes come out every 2 weeks now. Don't know if you saw that, but they're coming out every 2 weeks. So my hope is that you leave this and you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. I feel fucking empowered to do it. And you do. You do. And then my other hope is you reach out to me and you tell me and you celebrate with me and we can celebrate together and be like, holy shit, you did it. You did it. Because on my journey, in my life, all these different things I've done, reading the books and listening to the podcast and gathering the information, it's very easy to hold it all in your mind and be aware of it and know it. It's a lot harder to embody it and walk the walk instead of just talk the talk. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes dedication and consistency. So when you do it, you should really celebrate. Anchor that shit in, fucking lock it in. All right. So, what we're talking about today is why maybe you don't feel completely worthy, completely deserving, and how the fuck to fix that. You know, those feelings like you've been doing the work and you still don't quite feel like you're enough? I don't know. What is it for you? Is it imposter syndrome? Is it I don't feel like I am enough or I'm smart enough? Or is it from childhood? Do you have your coffee in hand or your tea or your bone broth? I don't know. Do you have wine? Whatever the fuck you have. Let's raise it up real quick. Let's make a toast to the version of you who collected and learned that information. Because you aren't born believing that you're not enough, right? You learn that shit. So let's make a toast, right? Let's send some love. You can do it however the fuck you want. Let's send some love to the version of you that learned, that adapted, and believed, I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. Let's cheers them, send them some love because this is the last time they're going to feel that way. This is the last time you're going to feel that way. Cheers, babe. Also, I'm drinking from Nana's mug today. My great grandma, she passed away a few years ago. Um, and I bought her and my grandma, her daughter, these matching mugs because having coffee in the morning was like our thing before I moved away and started just traveling and moving everywhere like a gypsy. So when Nana passed away, her daughter, my grandma, gave me her mug so that way I can still have coffee with Nana whenever I want. I almost just cried saying that. Oh, fuck, I'm gonna cry. It's happening. It's happening. So yeah, whatever you're drinking, cheers. Cheers. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about where this feeling of unworthiness, of not being enough comes from. We already touched on it a little bit. We're going to talk about how it impacts you. And I'm going to share some personal stories. I'm just going to share with you because we're all fucking human. And hopefully that'll help you connect a little bit more and it'll bring things to the surface for you that you're able to work through. And then we're going to talk about how the fuck to fix it. Okay. So, first things first, I wrote this down in big print because I wanted to make sure that you heard this. Okay. So, turn the dial up on your ears. Listen. Low self-worth isn't a thought problem. It lives in your body. Sit with that. Soak it in. It's not a thought problem. If it was a thought problem, don't you think it would be quote unquote fixed by now? I'm going to share with you a process that I used to do and still sometimes happens because I'm a whole ass human. And I just want to see if you can relate at all. So I have a really fast moving brain, a spicy brain. And sometimes in the past, and like I said, even in the fucking present, sometimes what will happen is I'll be working on something or doing something, whatever, and this thought will pop up. But it's not necessarily like a you're not good enough. Like it doesn't, it's not that for me. It's more specific. It's like a specific reason I'm not good enough. That's what I hear. That's what thought pops up, right? For a really long time. And it's because of how I was raised. And it's not a bad thing. It's just how I was raised. I was raised like most people. I was raised in the Midwest. I was raised on farms. I was raised in blue collar America. I wasn't raised by people who were looking and talking about those thoughts. You know, I was raised by people who just didn't talk about that. And they just didn't listen to those thoughts. They were very strong willed and they had very strong minds. However, that also sometimes led to avoidance and pushing the fuck through, right? Regardless. And that led to many things. Lots of different ailments of different kinds. So what I've done in the past and what I catch myself still doing sometimes is when those thoughts come up, I just pretend like they're not there. I'll fucking push through what I'm doing. I'll be like, nope, and I'll just keep fucking going. And it never works. That never worked. Not a single fucking time. They would come louder. They would come more often. And I already have a lot of thoughts. I have ideas and thoughts, and I'm fucking smart. You're probably also really fucking smart. Like, I'm just smart. And a lot comes in, and it's the organization. And every now and then, one of the things that comes in is that you fucking suck, and a specific reason why I fucking suck. So, what I started to do is realize this was when I was doing my road trip. This is like right after one of my big reinventions, after this big healing I gave myself, after realizing that I was in a marriage that was never right to begin with from the very beginning. If we're going to be 1,000% honest and transparent right now, I need you to know the day I got married, my dad and I grew up with a lot of guy friends, and my dad and my guy friends were standing in the lobby of the hotel that we got married in. We got married at a really cool hotel. And my dad and my friends looked at me and they're like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Because they knew, like they fucking knew. And I was like, I can't turn back. There's a hole. Everybody's in there. It's happening. My dad looked at me and I had tears in my eyes and he handed me his flask of whiskey. And I took the biggest fucking chug of whiskey right before I got married. And it was because, and I know this now, and I knew it then, but it was difficult to face. It was because I knew that it wasn't right. I knew that I was I was moving forward into a life that was settling so much. It was me settling for a lot of things I knew in my heart I didn't deserve, but I was at war with myself. I was battling myself. And so it was really difficult because I knew I wanted more and I knew I deserved more, but also, do I? And it was a really big turning point for me because I recognized, not right then and there, not during the shots of whiskey out of a flask, but I realized that I was choosing this life because I thought that that's all that I deserved. I thought that that relationship and the way the relationship worked, and there was a lot of infidelity. There was a lot of questioning the faithfulness of my fiance and turning into my husband at that point, and a lot of other things. that were red flags, a lot of red flags, actually. I'm sure I was a walking red flag. I just told you that I took a fucking chug of whiskey from a flask before I got married. Okay, I was also kind of a walking red flag. So it was just so eye-opening to me that I was about to solidify, to commit fully and completely to a life that I knew. I fucking knew. I knew it in my gut the whole while we were taking pictures. You know how weird that is? I don't know if you've ever lived that, but it's a fucking weird feeling to be taking pictures on your wedding day of like getting married and you're trying to stay in one frame of mind, but then also these other thoughts are popping up, these moments of just like, mm-mm. And it took a lot for me to finally decide that I deserved more. It took a lot for me to finally decide that the thoughts in my head were telling me that I wasn't worthy weren't true. It took a lot for me to physically move out of that house. It took so much. And if I would have done the work that I'm about to talk to you about, that I'm about to give you these 3 steps, if I would have done that first, it would have saved me so much. Now, just like a little side note here, no regrets, because one of the biggest reasons that I was even in that relationship was because of my bonus kids, which they were just my kids. But I tell you bonus kids because otherwise you might be like, wait, I didn't know you gave birth. Didn't give birth. You're my bonus kids. And that's really one of the only reasons I was there. So, no regrets. But I'm just saying, maybe you start doing a little bit of this work if any of this feels familiar. Another example I wanted to share with you is when it comes to work and money. So, I've worked in corporate America. I've been a bartender. I've worked for Sephora. I've worked for a steel manufacturing plant. Like, I've done a lot, and what it's done is created an incredible amount of skill sets that I have, just like all of us, right? Like when you look back in your life and you see all these different things that you've done, it's very obvious that each one had a place in your life and each one helped you create a certain amount of skill sets that now you're able to use. And I do see that, but I also see looking back that I did not feel worthy of more money. I just didn't. I didn't feel worthy of being treated well in a work environment. Now, it wasn't like a 0 to 100. It wasn't black and white. There was a lot of worthiness there. There was a lot of, yo, fuck off. I deserve better than this. Wasn't quite enough. It was like there's a little bit more that was needed. Like I was right there. I was right there, but something kept pulling me back. And I remember vividly, holy shit. I remember when I decided to leave the very last job that I ever had before I became a full-blown entrepreneur, working for myself 100% of the time. I was working in finance and I was working for, if there's any kids in the room, which I doubt it because I say fuck a lot, but cover their ears. He was a fucking asshole. He was a walking nightmare of a human. I have never met anyone in my life that was just so rude and so angry, and he treated his employees so terribly. And I, unfortunately, and fortunately, one of my skill sets is I can handle fuckers like that. I grew up with it. So I'm like, I can handle you. So I was there working, and for months, he kept promising me certain amounts of money that I would be making, and he was holding it over my head a little bit, but I was calling him out on his shit. I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Fucking show it to me though. Like I'll go nose to nose sometimes with a full grown 6 foot man. I don't give a fuck. And there was one time, it was towards the end of me working there. There was one time where he was so mean to the employees. he spoke to the employees as though they were just dirt. It was awful. And me being me, I had to jump in, I just couldn't keep my fucking mouth shut. So I got in the middle of it a little bit calmly. And I was like, this is not going to fucking happen. Walk away, leave her alone. Like, what the fuck do you think you're doing right now? And it hit me really hard that day. I walked back to my office and I was like, Heather, why are you here? Like, really, why are you here? And I had all these thoughts where I was like, well, maybe you're here because you're meant to help. Like, literally, you just help end that. And maybe that helps that woman. And, yeah, maybe. And maybe I'm here to finally figure out that I deserve better. Not just being treated better, but also being treated better for my work and being paid more and knowing that I deserve to be paid more. It was a turning point. It was an absolute turning point. While I was there, I just need you to know like how wretched this place was to work. I was grinding my teeth. I hadn't done this since I was like a teenager or a child. I was grinding my teeth while I slept so hard that I was chipping my teeth. That's how fucking stressed I was. Okay. Have you ever been there? It's real bad. I was barely sleeping. I was in survival 24 motherfucking 7. My heart was right. Like I had all the symptoms. I had all of it. And the day that I decided enough's enough, it was a decision that I made inside. And you probably know that decision. Like that's literally the decision. When a woman or any human, but specifically a woman, when a woman decides that enough's enough, whether it's of something outside of herself or whether if it's her own bullshit or a mixture of both, when a woman decides enough is enough, something changes. But science and spiritual, because we have a foot in both of them show proof. When you make a decision, oh, sorry, I just had a coffee burp. Could you hear that? It sounded like a little bullfrog. Anyways, I digress. When you make a decision like that, you are energetically shifting. You're also shifting your thoughts in a very specific way. Because you know how there's a difference between believing something and knowing something? Like you can believe that you're going to have a great month next month and your goals are going to be met and blah, 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 right? But it'll be more impactful if you know it. Because you don't believe, I don't know, let's say your first name is Susie. I don't know if it is or not because I wish I could be seeing you right now, but I'm not seeing your face. So let's say your name is Susie. You don't believe your name is Susie. You know it. Do you see the difference? There's a big difference. And that shift happens when a woman makes a decision. It's the same decision women make when they come to work with me every motherfucking time, whether it's because they are about to go through a divorce or they're about to move across the country or across the world, when they're about to start a business, when they're like all of these things, whenever they are reinventing themselves or transforming or going after more in life, it's because they made that fucking decision. That decision changes something. And it's such an incredible opportunity to raise your self-worth more than you ever have before. In that moment, it's fucking potent, dude. The energy in that moment is so potent. So I decided I'm fucking done. I will never, ever forget also the day I didn't fulfill my 2 weeks working there. Just real quick, and then we'll get into the steps to take. And also, are you feeling something right now? Like, I just want you to sit with this before I tell you the rest of the story. Are you feeling like certain stories of your own right now where you're like, I fucking have some of those. I have these fucking moments. I know these moments where I was settling for less than I fucking deserve or less than I'm worthy of. And I was pretending that I don't deserve more for whatever stupid fucking reason. Like, and sometimes it doesn't feel like a stupid fucking reason. Sometimes it feels legit. Are you feeling one of those or 5 of those? Good. Write them down if you can. Okay. So let me go back to what I was telling you, but first let me take a drink of coffee. So this motherfucker. Let me tell you this. So I put my 2 weeks in, right? And I was like an advocate for everybody that worked there. There was like blue collar boys working in the back. There was like more of like the office type up front. I didn't give a fuck. As soon as I heard him on a rampage, I was like cracking my fucking knuckles. I was like, today's the day. Let's go. And I was just little Miss Professional. I was wearing my fucking fancy pants, literally, and my fancy shoes. And I'd walk up and I'd be like, what are you doing? I I am like, I don't want to use a word that I feel like is overused, but like whatever, I'm just gonna say. I'm not saying he was a narcissist because I can't say that because I don't fucking know, but there was some behaviors. And I'm a whisperer for those motherfuckers. Oh, as soon as I catch whiff, I'm like, oh, okay. I know how to work with you. And that day I put my 2 weeks in, he lost his shit because I was making him so money hand over fist in integrity. Because in that business that I was in, integrity doesn't really exist most of the time. And that's just not my fucking thing. So I came in, I was like, I'm going to do this for you and I'm going to make you more money than you've ever had come in here. But I'm going to do it the right fucking way and I'm going to do it with integrity. If you have a fucking problem with that, then I'll just leave and find a I'll find a different place. I don't give a fuck. I put that 2 weeks in and he was sweating. He was not pleased. And I was doing everything. I was making a big book of instructions and exactly how to do everything and where everything was for the next person coming in because I knew if that person was coming in, they needed to know, yo, this place sucks. So I needed to like help them a little bit. And it was like a week and 2 days or some shit before my 2 weeks ended. And he was having me run a deal. And he came into my office and shut the door behind him, like trying to be some sort of, I don't know, trying to kind of puff up a little bit like a rooster. Cough. First of all, I have a bigger chest than you. My titties are huge. I'll puff harder. He came in, shut the door, and he's like, this is what you're going to do. And I sat there and I listened. And the whole time, I don't know if you've ever done this, when somebody's telling you what you're going to do, and you're already feeling like, go fuck yourself. And so I'm listening but barely. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, I can't wait till you're done talking. So he gets done talking. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is A, B, C, D, E, F, and these. It's gonna be honest, and it's going to be the right way, and it's going to be this. And I was like, also, I will get the money from this specific deal, even though I will no longer be working here. Because why the fuck would I do what you're telling me to do and figure out the right way to do it if I'm not even going to get the fucking money from it? Are you wild out of your mind right now? So he could tell that I was not fucking around. I could tell that he kind of wasn't either. Like we were both on the same page. And he leaves, and I'll spare you the rest of the details, but basically, he came back in and he started not being in integrity at all. Not that he really lived there, anyways, but it was pretty obvious. And I stood up in the middle of the deal. And I was like, I deserve better than this. I deserve better. I gave a little nod and a wink at the people, like, yo, you deserve better too. You should probably just like skedoodle. But I got up in the middle of the deal and I walked out. I told him, I'm like, I'm not going to do this. You're not going to force me to do anything. You're not going to force my hand to do some shit that I don't feel good about. Go fuck yourself. I stood up. He wouldn't let me walk through the building. He was such a petty little dick. He wouldn't let me walk through the building because it was pouring down rain. So he made me walk out the side of the building so I'd have to walk through the whole giant parking lot to the back where my car was in the rain with my hands full. Petty little dick, right? I felt so good. I walked through that rain and I was like, yes, like I fucking know I deserve better. I know I deserve better. I deserve to be paid better. I deserve to be treated better. It was a turning moment. And you want to know something funny? When I got home, I sent Travis a Snapchat. I set my phone up and I sent him a video Snapchat of me taking off my work clothes and throwing them in the trash. I still have the video. Just like pulled it. Oh, I just put my hat off. Well, if you're watching YouTube, you just saw my hat flip off. I literally like pulled all my fucking clothes off, threw them in the trash, and I was like, today's the day. I'm gonna start this fucking business more than I ever have. Because the brazen empire was already existing then, but not with the coaching aspect. And that's when that was the decision. I was like, no, I deserve more. I deserve better. I can do better. I can be better. So now that I've shared some of my stories with you, and hopefully you have some of your stories like at the fucking surface, what do you say we dive through and we figure out how to fix this? 3 simple steps. Yeah. I wrote something else down that I wanted you to keep in mind that if you don't rewire at a nervous system level, it's just going to keep coming back. Those thoughts that we talked about in the very beginning, it's not just thoughts. Those are not just thoughts that are coming up. The reason that they keep coming up is because it lives in your body. The tension, the memory, the energy lives in your body. So it's going to keep happening and it's going to happen in autopilot over and over and over. You're going to hear whatever your I'm not enough is, whatever your I don't deserve this is, whatever yours is. Like I said, mine is specific. Mine, when I hear those thoughts, it's more like specific things that I have or have not done, that this inner critic, this voice of fear, this whatever the fuck you want to call it, that voice is trying really hard to make me believe that I should feel shameful or stupid or guilty or not enough, or, the list goes on. But if you don't address the body and you only are addressing the mind, or maybe you're not even addressing the mind, like I said, in the past, and sometimes even now, I have the thoughts and I just avoid them and I act like they're not there. And that's not the fucking way. But if that's all that you're doing, you're not actually getting rid of them. It's like a splinter, my dude. You want to pull the splinter out completely. I've talked about this also being a tick. I don't know if you're from the country or if you know what a tick is, probably fuckingly, I guess. But when you pull a tick out, you don't leave the fucking head in. No, that'd be like this. It'd be like you doing the mindset work to get rid of these old limiting beliefs, this old fear, these old memories, this old energy. It's like you doing that with your mind, but you're not getting the head out. The head is what's in your body. The head is the root of it. Okay? Okay. Let me flip my page because I wrote down the exact steps. Do you have your notebook ready, by the way? Because I'm going to buzz through these. We're going to go through them kind of quick. So go grab your notebook if you don't have it already. Can't believe I just flipped my fucking hat off. That's hilarious. I mean, I can because I do it often, actually, but never on a podcast, I don't think. Okay. Number one, there's 3 steps. So if you like to know what you're about to write down in a notebook because your brain likes to be able to organize it the first time so you don't have to rewrite the notes, you have 3 steps coming. Each step has 3 steps. I don't know. That's just me, maybe. I love to know before I take notes kind of what's going to happen because otherwise I end up rewriting the notes so they are more organized. Is that a you thing? Is that a me thing? Or is that an us thing? Number one, you're going to want to address the subconscious programming. It's that inner operating system. You're going to want to address that. These are the thoughts. The subconscious programming, I want you to recognize something with me. About 95% of your daily thoughts that you are repeating every motherfucking day, 95 of those thoughts are subconscious. They pop up out of nowhere, right? They're just there. And you're like, I didn't fucking bring that forward. The fuck? It's a subconscious thought. Now, here's something also interesting. There's your science of it. You want to hear something spiritual that's interesting? Your thoughts create your reality. Whatever you focus on expands. We know both of those, right? So if 95% of your thoughts are subconscious, and if you're thinking right now, well, shit, Heather, 95% of the thoughts that are subconscious aren't usually fucking helpful ones, then our job is to start to clean that up a little bit. We have to do some rewiring, we have to do some retraining, or you're just going to continue those patterns. So, number one, this is easy. This is the 4 steps to rewire and retrain that I have taught you a million different times, but we're going to talk about them again until it really fucking soaks in. Number one, you need to acknowledge the thought. You got to look right the fuck at it. What are some ways to do that, Heather? Good. I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. Number one, write it the fuck down. Write it down, write it down, write it the fuck down. If there's any resistance that you have to quote unquote journaling or writing something down, then I'm telling you right now from the bottom of my fucking heart that it's the one thing you need to be doing. If there's that much resistance to you writing it down, it's because it's the thing you need to do. I'd put money on that shit. I'd fucking place a bet. Write it down. Do you want to go further? After you write it down, go up into a mirror and look in your own eyes and start talking about the fear. Start talking about that thought. Start talking about that I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, whatever the fuck it is. Start talking about it. Bring it to the surface. Look at it. It's a thought. It's not a dragon. It's a thought. I'm going to burp again. Hold on. Oh, maybe not. It's a thought. It is not you. It does not define you. It is just a thought. So go to a mirror and call it the fuck out and do whatever you want. And also, I just realized because I'm coming to you literally right after the gym, and I just realized that I have like black whatever under my eye. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you were like, does Heather have a black eye? She doesn't. I don't. Just coming to you stinky, sweaty, straight from the gym. So I just had random shit. It's probably old mascara, if I'm being honest. Anyways, I digress. You're going to want to look at this shit and you're going to want to rebel. That's the next step. First is acknowledge. Look in the mirror, write it down, talk about it, say it. Stop fucking running from it or avoiding it or acting like it's not there or pushing through and powering through. Stop. Stop bottling it up. Look right the fuck at it. Number two, question it, rebel against it. If you're listening to this podcast, and if I've ever worked with you, I know a few different things about you, but one thing I know for sure is you are a rebel. You've probably been a rebel since the day you were fucking born. Oh, rebel ass. So I'm going to ask you to do what you do best, and I'm going to ask you to rebel against these fucking thoughts. Start questioning them. Now, the questioning process is something that you can go really deep into. And if you ever want to go deep into it and you want to get to the root and you want to dig in there and you want to pull it the fuck out, we can do shadow work, inner child work, inner teen work. We can do what you want to do. You can go that deep into the questioning to really fucking figure it out. Or you can just ask yourself, is this what I want to fucking think? Is this what I want to think about myself? Is this what I want to focus on? Make it simple. If the answer is no, time to rebel against that thought then. Challenge those thoughts. Don't just immediately take them as true. Okay, just a side note. Let's say you were at your house and you were just like hanging out doing whatever, and somebody came to your house. They came to your house physically, to your zone, and they knocked on your door. And then you opened the door. You don't know this motherfucker. They look at you as soon as you open the door and they're like, you're not enough. You suck. And I'm going to give you all the reasons that you do suck. What would you do? Would you be like, oh my gosh, this random stranger that I've never seen in my life is telling me that I suck at my own home? I believe everything they say. Probably fucking not. Probably you would be like, get out of here. Shut the door, slam the door, lock the door. Fucking turn the fire hose on, fucking spray them. You would not just immediately take it as truth. So why are you doing that with these random fucking thoughts, these random limiting beliefs and fear? And really, probably what they are is adaptions that happened in your life when you were younger because you adapted when you had something happen. And maybe it wasn't even something that was a big T trauma. Maybe it was just something where I had this situation with a client actually last night. We were moving through some limiting beliefs about her self-expression. And so I did some energy work for her and we went a little bit deeper. We did some deep intuitive work. And I was like, whoa, babe, I just had it come through. There's this moment, and I don't want to say like her whole personal story. Let me bite my nose real quick. But basically what happened is her self-expression was shut down at a certain point of her life between the ages of like 10 and 12-ish. And what happened that showed up for her was she had done something that she was really proud of. It was an expression. So it felt like art, it felt like drawing, it felt like writing. Like there was something that she was presenting to her father. And she was so excited to present it to him. She was so proud of it. And she brought it in, and he did not have the capacity at that time to celebrate with her or to give her what she wanted, needed, and deserved. Okay. It wasn't a big T trauma. Her dad was just a human being a fucking human. Have you ever been a human adult trying to make it in the world, especially with a child? That shit's hard. And her dad, in this vision that came forward, in this piece of her life that came forward for us to discuss, her dad was not emotionally or mentally at that moment able to give her what she needed, wanted, and deserved. So she adapted. She had a perspective. She created this moment in herself, in her mind, body, and soul, where she shut down all self expression. She shut down doing anything that allowed herself to be free and create. She shut it down. And it wasn't because something terrible happened. It was because her dad dismissed her because he didn't have capacity at that time because he was dealing with his own shit. That's how easy this shit can happen. So you have to pay attention and just ask yourself, like, is there anything that comes up to the surface when you're challenging this? Is there anything that comes to the surface, a memory? And just identify it if you want to. So let's move on to the next step. First one is acknowledge. Second one is question. Third one is replace. This is where you're going to decide what you actually want to believe, think, and feel about yourself. And you're going to have to do it until you feel it. This is not a fake it till you make it situation because energy can't be faked. And you're going to know when you're faking it. And you're going to call yourself out on faking it. And it's not going to work if you do that. What you're going to do is commit to what you actually want to believe, think, and feel. And you're going to keep talking about that and doing that until you fucking slide into that life. Because you slid into this way of thinking after doing it for so many days in a row, thinking, feeling, focusing on certain shit. So if you learned how to believe that you're unworthy and undeserving, you sure as fuck can unlearn that and learn something new. So you're going to learn something new. You're going to replace it with how you actually want to feel, think, and be with yourself. So what this looks like is mirror work. Go to a mirror, stand in front of a mirror. As soon as you catch this shit, do it all in front of a mirror if you want to. And just start saying, no, I am worthy. I am deserving. And start giving yourself examples, evidence, and proof of it. If we've ever worked together or if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know what I mean when I say evidence bucket. We all have evidence buckets. And at this time, when you're doing this replace step, you're going to be filling an evidence bucket up and maybe even digging into one, be like, no, this is why I'm worthy. And this is why I'm deserving. And this is why I'm enough. Okay. You're going to do it until you feel something. Don't just do this shit. Be like, yeah, I'm enough. Yeah. No, that's not going to work. I had a client 2 years ago. She came to me, and when she came to me, she was in a certain way, man. She was going through it, and she was like, "No coach ever works, no mentor ever works. Everybody just charged me all this money, and they didn't do shit." And I was like, "Oh fuck. Okay, well, let's get down to it." And I was like, "What are you doing, and what are you not doing?" And she was intellectualizing the work. She wasn't living it. She knew exactly what to do. She read all the books. She was very smart. She she had a whole team in place. She had her therapist, she had me, she had a somatic healer, she had all of them in place. She's like, it's not working. And I had to look at her on our video call and just point blank tell her, I was like, do you want blunt blunt or do you want like soft and fluffy? I need to know. And that's a question I ask clients a lot, actually. She's like, I want blunt blunt. I'm tired of this not fucking working. I'm tired of paying money and having nothing happen. I was like, well, the reason nothing is happening is because nothing is happening. You're not taking action. You know what to do, but you're not fucking doing it. She's like, yes, I am. And I was like, okay, okay. When it comes to, let's say, with this replace piece, going into a mirror and doing it, when we talked about a version of that, we went deep into it because of the work we were doing. And she's like, well, I've never done that. And I was like, well, that's the piece you have to do. It's not enough just to know how all this works. You actually have to live it. You have to walk the walk. And that's the hardest part. And I had to be really honest with her and say, listen, This is you standing in your own way. And that's okay. Forgive yourself, have compassion, have grace. That's the biggest piece of this work is having compassion and grace, giving yourself the same compassion and grace that you give others, and probably even more times. I had to be so blunt with her and be like, my dear, this is an inside job. You have got to start taking more action. So, this is that step. This is the action step. The replace step is to actually start speaking and telling yourself what you want to hear. And the very last one brings your body in. And this is step number 4. This is move your body and also move and take more action, right? But specifically, move your body once you identify the thought and you acknowledge it, and then you start to question it and rebel against it. And then you move into replacing it and deciding what you actually want to feel, think, and all of that about yourself. Then you're going to move your fucking body. You're going to dance. Maybe you're going to scream and shake. Maybe you're going to tap, but you need to do something. I say this with love. Going and sitting on your ass is not the fucking thing, babe. Going and just getting back into your daily routine is not the fucking thing, babe. What it is taking a whole minute. You have a minute. It takes 1 minute. Once you do this, just start shaking your body all weird and shit. Who cares? Who cares if somebody sees you? If your kids see you, good, because they're little sponges and maybe they're going to absorb what you're doing and you're teaching them how to fucking process. Shake, jump up and down. There's a really fun one that I love too, where you go up, it's like a toe raise or a heel raise, or I don't fucking know. You come up on your toes and then you just let yourself fall down on your heels and everything starts jiggling. And that's what you want. So, first thing, step number 1, or address subconscious programming, your inner operating system. Understand how important that is. Understand that 95% of your thoughts are subconscious and they are creating your reality. They create the inner narrative, what you think about yourself, what you think about others, what you think about life. So, inside of that is your 4 steps: acknowledge, question, replace, move. Step number 2, somatic practices. We've already kind of touched on this, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. It's really important to understand that this fear, this I'm not enough, this limiting beliefs, the trauma, big T or little t, it lives in your fucking body. It lives in your nervous system. And you probably already know this. But if you are consistently feeling unworthy, then you are consistently staying in survival. You are consistently in freeze or flight or what the fuck ever you're in. I go into freeze a lot. I go into, and I start shaking like a little chihuahua. And I'm so used in my life that I used to power through that shit and be like, it's fine. I'm just cold. Okay, Heather. No, you have to address it. So, since your body is your vessel, this meat suit that you're in is important and it is a blessing, something to be grateful for. We're going to start to see that a little bit more when we do this somatic work. And the first thing is you're going to go up to a mirror, again, mirror work inside of this. You're going to go up to a mirror and you're going to start saying what it is that you need and want to hear about your body. Telling your body, I'm safe. And this is my personal practice. I like to create a rhythmic. This is the goal for me. Just, I don't know, is that too loud? Is that hurting your ears? Hopefully not. But just really pounding on your chest rhythmically, right? And just saying those affirmations and getting fucking hype about it. Being like, I am beautiful. My body's fucking awesome. My heart beats for me every single fucking day. And I don't even have to do anything. My stomach is digesting my food as we speak. And I don't have to fucking do anything. Like realizing how magical and how incredible your body really is. It's a miracle. It really is. And like for me, I am so grateful on a different level because I have a healthy body, and that is a fucking luxury, especially these days. I am so grateful for how healthy my body is and how strong my body is. It's a whole little piece of the puzzle to stand in front of the mirror and really get into that because you will get emotional. Second piece is the somatic. Now, I already started kind of showing you by hopefully, again, if you're watching the YouTube, you saw. If not, come and watch it. But the somatic work, we're starting with this slow rhythmic, right? And then you can start shaking a little bit if you want to. You can do whatever you want. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Go on Google, Go on the fucking Google machine or whatever the fuck, DuckDuckGo, whatever you use, and just research it. We're in the age of information. You could figure out anything. And you're smart as fuck. Okay. So let's be real. Go on there and type in what are somatic practices that I can put into my daily life. You're going to get like, I don't know, 5 to 10, pick a few and start being consistent with them. And remember, these are not to be used only when you need them, only when you're in freeze or flight or what the fuck ever you're in. They are to be used as maintenance as well. So just do them. Just do them even when you don't think you need them, because I bet you do. Okay. And the third one is breath work. So we're going to do this together real quick. And we're going to do it a little bit faster than normal just because sake of time. But you're going to inhale for 4 seconds. You're going to hold for 4 seconds. And then you're going to exhale for 6. Okay. So there's a lot of different breath work that I do with clients, depending on the need and the person. But this one's real easy. So you're going to inhale through your nose and you're going to let your stomach fully expand on the inhale. You might even help your belly expand because it might not be used to it. Then you're going to hold that inhale at the top. And then when we exhale through your mouth, I want you to do it slow and controlled for whole 6 seconds. If you don't do it slow and controlled, it's going to be hard to exhale for 6 seconds. Okay? Okay, ready? Inhale, hold, exhale. Good. Do you already feel better? Good. I have a client here very shortly, so I'm literally gonna rush us through this a little bit. But do this later more by yourself, okay? So again, inhale, hold, exhale. Good. Do that a few more times for me. And maybe you even do some rhythmic tapping on your chest, a little pounding. So, somatic practices, it's understanding that this is living in your body, it's living in your nervous system. It's going to continue to come up as autopilot thoughts, these 95% of the thoughts that you're having all day, every day, until you actually get to the root of it. This unworthiness, it does require that you start doing things where you can trust yourself and you can collect evidence that you are worthy, and it's an inside the body job. So if you can start to do breath work, again, not just when you feel like you need it, but also as maintenance, that's going to be super helpful. Now, let's get to number 3 so I can hop on with my client here in a second. And before we do, I got to let you know something. Okay? This is something, it has happened before, but not this much ever. So I'm just putting it out there into the universe and I'm excited to see what happens. I only have, per the usual, I only have a few spots for one-on-one work this year. That's always the case, right? Nothing new. However, I have had 4 different women claim a spot and then say, actually, I'm not able to do that right now. Like we went through, some of us, even the women and I went through and like we had the discussions and we made deposits. And I know you know me. I was like, girl, that's fine. Like if it's not a fuck yes, that's a fuck no. Just don't make decisions in fear and desperation and scarcity. That's all I ask, right? Make them from your fucking heart. And each one of them is like, it's a fuck no for me right now. I have to listen to my gut. So what that means is there once was only one opening to work with me one-on-one this year. And PS, we start in March. We start next month. So reach out to me. Send me an email, heatherpowell.coaching@gmail.com. Send it right to my personal one or send me a DM on Instagram. Please let me know if you want to start working together one-on-one, because I know for a fact that if 4 different women had to back out, that means it's probably for you. And I say that because I have evidence of it. Every single one of my programs has filled up every single year, every time I know it's going to happen. And every single time I have somebody back out, even if it's just one person that takes that spot, every fucking time has been like, holy shit, I've been manifesting this. I've been praying for this. This is something I've been craving to work with you. And I didn't think you had any spots left. And the fact that you do is a fucking miracle, or it's fucking amazing. Every single time that happens. And every single time that person that I end up working with, it's the most amazing 6 months. So I have 2 spots now. is one for you. And the other thing I want you to remember is if you want to know what it's like to work together one on one, but you don't really feel like you're ready to commit for 6 months, or maybe it's not just the time, maybe it's energy or money that you're not ready to commit to at that level. I need you to understand what the spring and the fall retreats are. The spring and fall retreats are 5-week virtual retreats that also include private messaging and private support. And it's in the retreat. It's not one-on-one. But it feels like one-on-one because I do reach out to you one-on-one. Anyways, I digress. So it is a virtual retreat and it is private support for 5 weeks. And it's almost everything I teach in the 6-month program. I can't fit it all in 5 weeks. Almost everything from that. And I pop it into 5 weeks and I teach you everything I can teach you. And it's hands-on, it's interactive. It's not just listening. It's us doing it together so you can have holy shit moments. It is energy work. It's intuitive work. It is mindset. It is somatic. It is boundaries. It is money. It is divine feminine. It is manifestation and co-creation. It is your values. It's leaning into pleasure, learning how to receive. It's everything. And you have guest teachers that come in because my area of genius isn't everything in life. So I bring in other women that have other areas of genius so they can teach you as well. So that starts in March as well. That starts next month. So if you want to be a part of the 5-week retreat, trust me. It's also not just trust me, you're going to love it. And it's a great fucking thing to do for yourself. But also, forgot to tell you, you now can sign up and have it be 2 easy payments instead of one, which I love. So send me a message, send me an email, whether you want to do one-on-one work or the 5-week retreat. All right. Back to what we were talking about. Step number 3. Step number 3 is rewire self-image and embody it. It has to be an embodiment. You have to reach a point where you are walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So here's one thing to remember. And actually, you know what? I'm going to pause this because I want to make sure I'm not going to be late for my client by any means because I always have a buffer, but I just want her to know that the link is coming to her soon. So I'm not going to edit this out. We're just going to keep this in there. I'm going to pause this and then we're going to get back into it. Okay, I'm back. Let's get into step number 3. Rewire self-image and embody. Walking the walk. Now, we talked about this before with a client that I chatted with a few years ago, specifically letting her know you have to walk the walk. That has to be what happens. And it is hard. It is one of the hardest things because it takes patience, it takes consistency, it takes dedication. It also takes organization and understanding the processes at a deeper level. So, understanding that your brain does not know the difference between something that's really happening in front of you and imagining or visualization. Your brain doesn't know the difference. So, sit with me for a second on this one. If that's the case, how often are you thinking about the past? How often are you living in the past? Your brain doesn't know that it's not happening again. Your brain and body, let's say you continuously have a thought of something that happened in the past that put you into survival, put you into freeze or flight. Every fucking time you think about that, your body is feeling it. Your nervous system is feeling it. Your brain doesn't know that it's not happening right now. Your brain's job is to keep you safe. And your brain says, red alert, motherfuckers. We are now living that again. But you're not living it again. You're just thinking about it vividly. Right? Now, just like I was telling you, if you learned and adapted over time and you've put it in yourself or collected it and put it in yourself that you're not worthy or you're not enough, then you can absolutely unlearn that, right? Well, if your brain doesn't know the difference between what's really happening in front of you and what you're imagining or remembering or visualizing, it can take you further. It can help you if you do it intentionally. So, one of the first steps here is visualization every single day. You can do this while you're lying in bed before you even get up out of bed. I like to do them while I'm still kind of sleepy because you're in a very specific brainwave state at that moment. Right when you wake up in the morning, when your brain clicks on, but your eyes haven't opened yet, just stay there for an extra few moments and just visualize the day and everything happening according to what you need it. Say according to plan, because whatever, but like everything happening the right way, how you need it to happen, everything feels good and easy. And then go further, go next week, next month, next year, and visualize it all happening. See yourself doing it. And here's my pro tip: visualize and be specific. What are you wearing in the visualization? What are you experiencing in the visualization? Like when you're there, like really get into it. Also, a fun one is, what do you believe? In that visualization, let's say you take action on something. So identify if that's the action I'm taking right now, something that feels a little scary, something that feels big, but in your visualization, you're doing it and you're doing it with confidence. You got to figure out what's that belief system then that that new version of you has in order to do that thing with confidence. The new of you has to believe in herself a lot more. She has to believe in her capabilities. She has to believe that it'll all work out. When you start to recognize that and you start to consistently see it and feel it in your body, then very soon your reality will catch up. Very soon. So that's the first piece that I want you to know. And then also remember that energy attracts energy, like attracts like. So if you are consistently having shit ass thoughts that are always racing through and you haven't addressed them, and then they are also impacting your body, then you're probably going to have really uncomfortable experiences in your life that show up. Right? I don't want you to feel like scared, because I have had a client before be like, I'm terrified that I'm going to fucking manifest something I don't want because all these thoughts race. Don't go there with your, don't create more fear for yourself. Just reach out and let me give you a few easy steps that'll help you walk through that. But what I do want you to know is that it is your responsibility, because as soon as you start to do this work and you start to create a new reality within yourself, then your external world will start to shift and that will start to feel better too. Because energy is going to attract energy, like attracts like. Whatever you have going on inside, you're going to experience outside of yourself. The next one here is, we're going to talk about it again. You have to act as if. You have to start acting as though you are worthy. You have to start acting as though you are deserving. You have to act like you are enough. And it might feel untrue at times. That's fine. Like, and I say this with love, who fucking cares? Who cares? Because at one point you believed you were worthy and something was telling you, someone was telling you, an experience was telling you that you weren't enough at that time. And that probably didn't feel right, but you ended up believing it enough that now we're talking about it. So it's okay if you don't believe it all the time. It's okay if you have imposter syndrome. It's okay if you're not completely sure. You're still going to do it. That's the commitment. There is a space that I don't live in as a coach. And that's probably why you're here, to be honest. The space I don't live in as a coach is telling you to just, stay moving slow, and I'm not saying this is bad by any means. It's just not my style. To stay moving slow and to stay deep in this stuff. That's not my fucking style, dude. You got to get deep into this. You got to do the work, and then you have to fucking go after it. You can't keep sitting around waiting for shit to change. You got to make it fucking happen. There is a way to manifest and co-create what you want. There is a way to do it while you're surrendering and allowing, but you still have to walk the walk. You still have to act as though. Okay. So you have to act as though you are deserving. You have to act as though you are worthy until it is happening full force. And the very last thing is, you need to declutter. This is all inside of rewiring your self-image and embodying it. Like we said, number one is the visualization every day. Number two is acting as if. And number three, declutter people, habits, clothes, items in your house. Declutter your fucking life. Get rid of shit that does not align with who you want to be and the life that you want to live. If you are still holding on to old environments, old clothes, old people, old habits, that's the big one, then you're going to stay the old version of you, because you are setting it up. You're setting the space up to be the old version of yourself. You're going to have to do something uncomfortable and new. If you want new, you have to do new. You have to get rid of the old. You don't have to wipe the slate clean, but you have to take audit. I had a client who was a lot like me in drinking a little too much. And we were having a conversation. She's like, I just don't understand why this isn't working. And I was like, well, can I ask you again? I asked her, can ask you a real blunt question? And she was like, obviously. And I was like, okay, are you hungover today? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, if nothing changes, nothing changes, you know? So figure out what habits, what people, what clothes, what items, what environments, whatever it is. I'm not saying don't have a drink every now and then. I'm not saying don't fucking smoke a little weed every now and then. I'm not saying any of that. I want you to live your life 80-20 personally. That's how I do it. That's what I recommend to clients. Don't try to fucking live it 100%. If you want to, go for it. But what I'm saying is don't do shit that makes you feel shame. Don't do shit that makes you feel guilt. Don't do shit that makes you feel like shit. Declutter. Okay. Well, I got to let you go because I have to hop on with a client. And I'm going to leave you with this last piece. Worthiness is not something that you earn, it's something that you reclaim. You were born worthy. You were born deserving. You were born knowing that. You learned otherwise, so you can unlearn it. You're not earning your worthiness, you're reclaiming it. And I think you should start today. Okay. I love you. Have a wonderful couple of weeks. I'll see you soon. And remember, I would love to work with you. Send me a message. Let's talk details. Let's figure it out. Okay. Cheers. Have a good day, my dear. I'll see you soon.